All right, we're going to go through a meditation, and I'm connecting us right now to Instagram. So we'll just wait a few moments to get people in, and then we'll get started. Oh, good. So I am live on StreamYard on Instagram and YouTube. So for those of you that are on Instagram, I'm glad to see, I can see you guys in there. I'm just going to have to kind of flip back and forth to see the comments. How are we feeling tonight? Is there anything in particular you want to work on? How has your week been? What are you guys feeling? Let's do that. Let's talk about that. And then, okay, so for anyone that's new, we start, sometimes we start with our guided meditation. Sometimes we talk a little bit. It just depends. And if you guys have suggestions on what you're feeling, what you feel like you need to work on, just let me know. Right now, I'm just trying out being live on Instagram and YouTube. And so I'm just checking both platforms here to make sure it's working. And it looks like we're good. Patricia. Hi, Patricia. You've had a crazy week. Honestly, it has been a weird week. I agree with that. Anything in particular you want to work on tonight? I've got my cards too, so let's for anyone new, guided meditation, if you're new to meditation, just get comfortable, right? Don't feel like you have to sit up straight. Don't feel like you can't move. Just get yourself comfortable and let the rest go. So Patricia's saying chaos control. That's a really good topic, actually. Chaos control. I like that. Let's talk a little bit about that. Because on one hand, we can't control, right? Chaos is something we probably can't control. We can, hi, Megan. We can control the chaos within ourselves. We can control the chaos within the mind, but the chaos around us is never something we can control, but it is something that we can get better at managing with internally, which will then allow you to manage it better externally. Okay. So how do we manage the chaos internally? Well, for starters, we want to make sure that we're practicing those 5 steps to consciousness, right? We want to make sure we have that daily meditation practice. We want to make sure we're doing our best to eat right, to exercise, to journal, get in therapy when we need it. Why? Because if we are going to do our best to not take on the chaos around us, this body has to be conditioned to do that. We can't just say, I'm not going to absorb that energy. We can't just say, I'm not going to feel it. Because it isn't about not feeling it as much as it's about being able to experience it without it becoming us, without it overwhelming us, without it being, without it controlling us, right? So for anyone that's just joined, Patricia's asked if we can work on chaos control. And so we're discussing the chaos we know that we can control is internally. We cannot control the chaos externally, but we can control how we react to it, respond to it, absorb it. We want to make sure that we aren't fooling ourselves by feeling like either A, I shouldn't be taking this on, or I don't want to be a part of it, or I should know better. Listen, we can't always control what chaos we are involved in and what chaos we are not involved in, right? And we don't want to just jump into, I'm not going to feel. I don't want to just jump into, I'm not going to experience it. I'm not going to allow this to bother me. You know, that's a real big pop spiritual comment that is made a lot. Don't allow it to bother you. Uh, mm, that's a hard one, right? Much easier said than done. And there's many steps before we get to that. So it's kind of like if someone's giving you directions, this is pre-GPS, before the internet. If someone was giving you directions to their house, if they didn't tell you how to get there and said they just told you the house number, which today's world you can just put the house number in. This is pre-GPS. If they just gave you the house number and that was it, and you were like, well, I don't know how to get there, or is it the third house on the right or on the left, or where is it? This is what we're talking about when you hear someone say, don't allow it to get to you. Well, you have to give me the instructions to get there. You can't just give me the house. You have to give me the instructions. So you can't just say, don't allow it to bother you. You need instructions on how to condition yourself so it doesn't bother you. This isn't something that is simple, but it is something that is very, very real and very, very doable. Okay. And I stress that because when we do the work will show itself, and it will show itself in a way that is manageable for us, where we can function. So Patricia saying, that has been my week. I seem to take on the chaotic energy around me. Right. So Patricia, you, like everybody else watching, you absorb energy. All of us absorb, every human being absorbs energy. It's just that some are more sensitive to that absorption than others. Okay. So first and foremost, we want to understand that. So once we accept the fact that all of us absorb energy, some a little bit more than others, if you are that person that absorbs it more than others, then you have more work to do. Okay. We don't want to retreat because of that. Now, I'm not saying you should be throwing yourself in the middle of a circus 24/7. No, retreat is essential in the healing process and in the 5 steps to consciousness. So we want to know when to retreat and when to not retreat, right? So if you know you absorb energy, then what is it that we're going to do to help us manage that absorption so that it doesn't overwhelm us? Now, when you are in a scenario, like let's say you work an 8-hour-a-day job, right? And the job is chaos all the time. And the job is always chaos for 8 hours. You're going to be depleted probably by 4 hours in, maybe more. Normal. Okay. You haven't failed. You aren't unusual. That's normal. And then you're going to be depleted a few hours later, and then you're going to be depleted when you get home. So what are you doing to refill? And remember, when we refill after we've been depleted, sometimes we'll get to a place of, okay, I feel good. And sometimes we're filling up just enough to get us through. So we're not going to feel this necessarily overwhelmed sense of energy like caffeine does or sugar does, right? And so making sure we understand the difference of that subtle energetic refill, then it's not going to feel like a caffeine boost or an alcohol boost or a sugar boost or an anxiety or fear-driven boost. See, a lot of us don't realize it, but we get very overwhelmed and very physically and emotionally tired. And what we do then is we turn to something that will feed us with anxiety and fear to rev us back up. If you notice, sometimes when if you look at your work week, you may notice that when if you have an alarm that just buzzes, that's going to jumpstart your fear and anxiety, right? Because it scares you awake. And then what's going to feed that fear and anxiety, which is going to be what gets you out of bed, what's going to be that drives you is, oh crap, I'm late, or I got to get to work, or I have to do this. You're already going down your to-do list at work or for the day, or you're on your phone and there's so much news that's fear-induced, right? So you have all these subtle ways that you actually fill your cup with fear and anxiety because it gives you a false sense of energy. And most of us do that. It's very hard to counteract that, because what I'm asking you to counteract it with is quiet and stillness. And quiet and stillness is subtle and very hard if we've already pumped ourselves up with anxiety. Whether that anxiety is through something we've read, the alarm buzzing too loud, caffeine we've already taken in, problems that we know of or we are about to face that day. There's all these things, okay? Side note, someone told me about an app, and I don't remember the name of it, but there's an app that actually will wake you up slowly with like sounds of nature. Like if you program it, it'll start waking you up at like, if you need to be up at 7, at 6:30, it starts to slowly wake you up with subtle, gentle sounds so you aren't waking up chaotically. I got to find out what the name, I got to remember the name of that. But that's a great way to not start the day anxiety ridden, right? And then obviously not getting on the phone first thing when you wake up. So if we aren't getting on our phone, and if we aren't getting on our phone, and if we aren't filling ourselves as much as we can with that initial fear and anxiety, it's going to be much easier to sit in some form of meditation, okay? And what I always recommend is you do some sort of movement before you sit, because your body's going to want to move. So it can be anything you want. It can be a 15-minute workout. It can be yoga postures, whatever. But move the body to basically, like preschool teachers say, get the wiggles out, right? It helps immensely before you go into a breath meditation or whatever that might be. So let's do that in the morning. That's just a few minutes, okay? To get started. If you can do more, great. In the afternoon, what is your pick-me-up? What is your meditation? What is your breath work? What are you going in your car, sitting in the bathroom? What do you in your office, in your cubicle? What are you doing that maybe it's just 1 or 2 minutes that resets you just enough so that you are not allowing the chaos around you to absorb you and become a part of you? What are you doing? And for those that, watch me and listen to me regularly, you understand that I'm constantly pushing this back on you. How are you conditioning yourself so you can do this? It's like if someone says to me, I'm going to run a marathon next weekend. How long you been training? Oh, I haven't trained. Well, how the hell are you going to run that marathon? Right? You're going to go what? 15 minutes maybe, and then you're done. So exactly the same here. Every single athlete trains. Every doctor goes to medical school. Every profession, anyone trains and conditions before they do the thing they need to do. And the same thing applies with chaos and with us. And so I'm not saying you're going to get it right every time. I'm not saying that you're going to apply these steps and everything's going to be easy. No, I'm saying that you are going to have the bandwidth to manage it without breaking and without it breaking you. So I had a question asked in my DMs last week. I see Gladys, you're here and you reminded me of that question, which was talking a little bit about, you're welcome, Patricia, talking a little bit, and sorry, before I go on, Patricia, keep an eye out, because over on YouTube, I'm going to start putting out short meditations specifically for this. And those are going to be coming out soon. And I'm actually going to steal your term, chaos control, and I'm going to do a meditation called that. So keep an eye out, or I'll DM you when I'm writing it down right now. So Gladys last week asked my opinion on if the moon really affects us, and it was in reference to the eclipse that was happening. And so, yes, of course, the moon definitely, all parts of the planet affect us, right? Nature affects us. Storms can affect us. Weather affects us. The moon affects us. The way the planets are aligned affects us. Astrology, right? All of this does absolutely affect you. But we have to take all of that with a grain of salt, right? Because otherwise we're going to lean into that hard and it'll be our excuse for everything. And we want to make sure, and that goes also for your horoscope signs, like you are born under a certain sign, there's going to be many traits that are so much like you, but there's also a lot of you that from your life experiences or from your choices that will be different. And we need to make space for all of this, okay? And the best way to make space for all of this is to understand it, know it, and then adapt and make space for something else to also be there. It's kind of like when I learned that Mercury retrograde is actually a time of expansion. This is why they say not to sign contracts during Mercury retrograde, because a contract isn't expansive. And if Mercury retrograde is a time of change and expansion, then we want to be putting ourselves in a position to handle the change and the expansiveness. And a lot of times during Mercury retrograde, the change is difficult. We are learning through struggle. We are learning through challenge. We understand that. We know that. So we prepare as best we can for that. Again, preparation doesn't mean not feeling. It doesn't mean not experiencing. It doesn't mean letting things go. It means we have the knowledge and the awareness, but we also have our daily practice and all of our conditioning, and all of that combined helps us to move through these experiences. And so with the eclipse, I remember I felt off. And I forgot the eclipse was happening. And I was talking to a friend. She's like, oh my God, it's insane out there. It's got to be the energy of the eclipse. And I was like, oh my God, that's why I feel weird, right? And we're all feeling kind of off. Some of us don't. And that's okay. It's like, for me, not every Mercury retrograde do I feel it. Like, right? Not every full moon am I feeling extreme anything. Sometimes I do. Some full moons I do, especially for the females. If your cycle is aligning with the moon, then you're absolutely going to feel these things even stronger. But don't anticipate and expect, because it's setting you up, right? It's setting you up to almost guard yourself. And instead, it's like, let's read about this. Let's find out what this full moon's about. Let's find out what this eclipse is about. What is it asking us, right? Just like I'm using Mercury retrograde as an example. Mercury retrograde is asking for expansion, and sometimes it's coming in through a struggle. Okay, so what's being asked of me is to not be in shock and awe if something I thought was working all of a sudden falls apart. It's supposed to fall apart because it needs to be rebuilt differently. So when we take all of that into consideration and we apply that to what's happening in astrologically, what's happening with your menstrual cycle, what's happening in your own life, all of a sudden we can use these experiences in our favor, and instead of things to fear or be overwhelmed by. And listen, across the board, there's just going to be days and times when you're just overwhelmed, and that's inevitable. Okay. And that's perfectly fine. We just be it. You got to allow space for that. So when it comes to chaos control, we're going to point the fingers at ourselves first and say, what do I need to do? What do I need to do more of or less of to manage this? Understanding I'm not going to be perfect. Understanding it could be challenging. I'm not going to feel my usual balanced self. I'm going to constantly be putting myself back into balance, and that's okay. That's just life. That's just life. But what do you have in place? I have chants in place. I have breath work. I have yoga postures. I have all this stuff in place. When I'm feeling extreme anxiety and fear, I go to movement. And sometimes that movement is a workout. It's weights, right? And sometimes it's a chant. Sometimes it's all these things, but I have something that I go to so that it brings me back to a place where I can function and I'm not being led by chaos, fear, or anxiety. All right, let's get started. Let me show you these cards that we pulled really quick. Soul Love is one. And the other one is Joy. So joy is something that we are born with, and then we start to lose, right? Joy is something that comes deep, deep within us. It's a deep connection. It's not just seeing joy in everything. It's a deep understanding that we've gotten to after we've released a lot of layers of past trauma, all of that stuff. Okay. And joy is something that really, I'm going to say boldly, really comes through meditation and through real intense life experiences, having a baby, right? Or watching your child have an amazing experience, or adopting an animal, right? We can experience this overwhelming sense of love and joy, but we want to be able to get to that more regularly. And that is something that we'll find in our daily practice, because we have to be able to clear the emotional body. We have to be able to quiet as best we can the brain. We have to get to these places so that we can actually experience that joy. Patricia, you've been doing some counted breath work. Perfect. Good place to start. All right, so let's do our short meditation, closing the eyes. 3 releasing breaths. Deep inhale through the nose. Exhale, blow it out. Two more. One more. All right, I want you to start to deepen the breath, lengthen the breath, slow down the breath. Deepen, lengthen, slow down. Deepen, lengthen, slow down. And I want you to now focus on your exhale. So don't force the exhale, don't push the exhale. I just want you to become aware of the exhale. And you might deepen it just a little bit. You might need to, you might not. So we relax the shoulders. Wiggle the fingers and toes to make sure they're not tense or strained. And one more time, pull the shoulders away from the ears. Just really make sure they're not hunched. Relaxing the eyes. Make sure they're not squeezed tight. Releasing the forehead. Relaxing the cheekbones and the jaw. Allowing the tongue to rest on the bottom of the mouth. Notice the belly. Notice the belly on your exhale. And then I want you to really relax that belly and really allow that belly to move with the breath. And really allow that belly to grow and to expand and then to fully release. So the belly and the breath are one. Feel that for a moment. The belly and the breath are one. Relaxing the legs and the thighs. Allowing the body to sink deep, deep, deep into the earth. And allowing yourself to simply let go. There's nothing that you need in this moment but your breath. Are you comfortable with this? There's nothing that you need in this moment except your breath. Feel it. Connect to it. Feel a connection with it. Be present with your breath. Remembering that the mind is never going to fully quiet. We're simply going to do our best to not engage with any memories that come up. Allowing the mind to be the mind and allow it to do what it feels it wants and needs to do. We do our best to not engage. The focus is on my voice and the focus is on your breath. And just one more good exhale and let yourself sink a little bit deeper into the floor, into your chair. And staying with this stillness. Wherever you're at, I want you to exhale all the air out. And we're going to do a few rounds of counted breath. We're going to inhale through the lips for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale through the lips for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale through the lips for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale through the lips for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Allow yourself to fully let go. I just want you to be in the silence for a few moments. What is it that you feel you need most right now? What is it that you feel you need most right now? I want you just to bring that in to this meditation. And I want you to really feel what that is. What is it that you feel you need and why do you need it? And I want you to allow yourself to experience this. What is, when you ask for what it is that you need, what does that bring up for you? What does that make you feel? I want you to allow yourself to feel this for a moment. What is it that you feel you need right now? And why? Just take some time with this. Allow yourself to feel with this, to be with this. Maybe it brings up anger or sadness or fear or joy. Allow that to come up and hold what it is that you feel you need. No matter what emotions come up, hold that image, that thought, that consciousness. Don't let it go. Just for a few breaths. If you feel yourself becoming overwhelmed or emotional, really deepen that inhale and blow out on that exhale. Use that exhale to let it go. All right, we're going to do one more round of breath. Before we do that, I want you to let go of what it is you feel you need and why. We're letting this go because we trust it's going to come when you're ready. Wherever you're at, blow all the air out. Inhale through the lips for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Last time, inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Let it all go. Now I want you to just be still for a moment. Relax the breath. Just notice if the body has grown tense or if it's sinking deeper into the earth. Allowing yourself to become comfortable with stillness. It's okay if the mind was going like crazy during the entire time. That's okay. You're teaching yourself, conditioning yourself to be comfortable with stillness. Within the stillness is the answers, and within the answers is the manifestation that you're seeking. I want you to open your eyes, but not move around too much. I want you to become comfortable with the eyes being open and the body remaining still, becoming used to and comfortable with an awakened state of calm, quiet, learning how to love your soul body first, and learning to allow that soul body to be your guide first. And then the mind follows suit. Right now we have the mind dragging us and it's causing chaos. But when you can allow the soul to drive you first, there's ease even in the most painful and difficult experiences. I don't mean easy. I mean ease because you trust. Ease because you understand from a different perspective. Very good work tonight, you guys. Any questions, don't hesitate to DM me. Any suggestions for stuff you want to work on, don't hesitate to DM me. I'll be jumping off because in an hour, I'll be live again doing Myth or Mystery. It's a fun paranormal show. So join in. But good work, you guys. And I'll be back next week.